Hey guys, where are you? David here. It is January 27th, 2010, also known as the day the iPad has dropped onto Earth and became a reality. First, let's talk about the name iPad. Yes, let's put all the hygiene product jokes for women aside for a second. Let's be mature about this. It's called the iPad. Let's get used to it. It's just the name. Personally, I like it. It kind of rolls off the tongue. iPad. Yes, I'm going to go get my iPad. Kind of like Notepad. So it kind of makes sense. It's like a notepad. Put in your arm, writing on it. Not writing on it, but with your finger, touching, swiping, all that cool stuff. Personally, I like the name iSlate more, but the name iPad also works. So, and come to think of it, what the hell is an iPod anyway? Like I said, just the name, it'll catch on. So let me say right off the get-go here that I am just going to wing it. I have not watched the keynote video yet, as I usually do before videos, but I am super hyped and super excited about the iPad, so I had to make my video right now. So this video is going to be kind of unorganized, so I apologize for that. So without further ado, enjoy and let's do this. Right from the start, what is the iPad? As Steve Jobs explained it, as far as I know, he explained it a cross between the iPhone and a notebook. Well, the iPhone / iPod Touch and a notebook / netbook. It's kind of like the product in between. And he's absolutely right. You have to keep in mind, this is not a notebook replacement. This is a between the products kind of product. This is its own category. So for all those people saying, "Oh well, David, I can get a netbook for the same price as the iPad, but it can do more." Okay, not to sound like a jerk, but good for you. If you want a netbook, buy a netbook. Apple's not trying to replace the netbook. They're creating their own category. So you cannot compare the iPad to products that already exist, except for other products like the Kindle and the ebook readers from Sony and all that good stuff. More on that in a bit. The iPad is its own category, so I don't get why so many people are complaining. Is it practically a bigger iPhone and iPod Touch? In a way, yes. It kind of is this, but a 9.7-inch screen, which is pretty big. So it kind of, in a way, is a bigger version of this, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I gotta be honest, from the start, I was like, wait, this isn't that exciting. It just looks like a bigger iPhone. Why do I want this over my current device? More on that in a bit as well. Trust me, I have a lot to talk about. So let's get right down to the specs here. I have my notes here so I don't miss anything, hopefully. It's an LED backlit IPS display, 9.7 inches as mentioned. It's multi-touch. Duh. If Apple didn't make it multi-touch, that would be shooting themselves in the face. It's thin and light. It's 1.5 pounds. If I'm not mistaken, Steve Jobs said himself that the iPad is lighter than any netbook out there, which is pretty cool. And it is 0.5 inches thin. That is freaking thin. The MacBook Air suddenly looks much less appealing. I'm not a fan of the MacBook Air as it is. It has up to 10 hours of battery life, which I think is amazing. I did not expect this. I saw some rumors on Twitter last night saying that the battery life was going to be 2 hours of watching video. No. Apple would not let that fly. This thing has 10 hours of battery life, which I think is pretty good considering the size of the screen, how bright it's going to be. It has Wi-Fi enabled, so that'll be draining the battery. But still, you get 10 hours. That's at least what Apple's saying, so I expect maybe 8 hours of battery life on like the average daily use of it. But you also get a month of standby time. So I don't know why I personally would go a month without using the iPad, but still, it's pretty good to have. A month of standby time is pretty impressive. So as mentioned, it has wireless with the standard 802.11n wireless, and it also has 3G connectivity. Can never say that word. 3G connectivity with no contract, which is amazing. 3G wireless with AT&T costs just $30 a month for unlimited data. Personally, I think that's an awesome deal. That's what I pay for my data plan currently on my iPhone, I believe. $30 a month plus other fees and all that stuff. So in a way, the tablet, well, the iPad, I'm going to call it, well, that's what it's officially called, the iPad is a better deal than this when it comes to 3G. However, you're using this for phone calls and stuff like that, so they're kind of in different categories in terms of 3G. Anyway, prices for the 3G, $30 a month, that's not that bad. Personally, though, I'm not going to get the model with 3G because I don't need 3G. I have my iPhone, and quite frankly, I don't feel like paying it another monthly plan. I try to spend as least as possible on monthly plans because I already pay for multiple website hosting plans and stuff like that. So, and plus, I only plan to use the iPad within my house or wherever there's Wi-Fi. I don't see myself taking this thing everywhere I go. The iPad is its own product. It's not a phone. It's not a netbook. Again, it's its own category. So I'll most likely be using it around the house most of the time. Probably in front of the TV, browsing the web with my hands, which I think, I cannot wait to get my hands on this thing, seriously. I know I sound like a fanboy right now, but keep in mind, I am not a fanboy. I like to think of myself as the kind of person who sees the big picture. I don't hate on products just because something doesn't turn out the way I expected. You have to understand, Apple's a very smart company. Yes, they've had their fair share of failures, but they've also changed the market multiple times. Look at the Macintosh. Okay, well, first of all, the Apple II, the Macintosh, the iPod, and then the iPhone. 4 big products right there, and the 5th one could easily be the iPad. Huge deal in my eyes. I'm a big picture person, like I said, so I try to be as optimistic as possible. So speaking of pricing, it starts out at $499 for the base price for 16 gigabytes of storage. That's pretty cheap, don't you think? I was expecting literally like probably $800 to $1,000 for the base model price. $500 is cheaper than I paid for my first iPhone. My first iPhone was $600. Granted, that one was a gift, yes, which I'm very appreciative of, but I bought my own iPhone 3GS for $200. So the fact that the iPad is cheaper than the initial iPhone release, I think that's amazing. But personally, I will not go for that one. I will go for the 32 gigabyte model, which is $600. And then they have the 64 gigabyte model for $700. So it's getting up there, but my iPhone 3GS is 60 gigabyte, and I don't use 16 gigabytes of apps. I don't know about you, but I do record a lot of videos on here, but I'm nowhere near filling up 16 gigabytes. But granted, I don't use my iPhone for my entire music collection. I use my Mac for that and my regular fifth generation iPod, which just happens to be right here, which is 60 gigabytes, by the way. So, yeah, prices aren't that bad. However, I think this is kind of cheap on Apple's part. For 3G, you had to buy a separate plan, so 3G isn't built in, unfortunately. Like, if I wanted to upgrade to 3G eventually, I would have to buy a whole new iPad. But like I said, I don't see myself using 3G on the iPad. It's for different uses than my iPhone. So I will definitely be getting one of the models with only Wi-Fi built in. So prices with Wi-Fi and 3G built in, 16 gigabyte is $629, 32 gigabyte is $729, and 64 gigabyte is $829. So it's getting up there. But the fact that they have 64 gigabyte with Wi-Fi and 3G for still less than $1,000, I'm still very surprised and proud of Apple. Not proud of Apple, but I am in a way. I'm very happy that Apple wasn't applying the premium Apple tax, as some users call it. So it's very, very good to see that this iPad device is competitively priced. Talking fast here. I'm trying to get everything out in not too much time. So, what's next? Alright, let me show a slideshow of the apps, which I'm going to roll right now, which I will not talk through. I'll just put some nice little elevator music or whatever, and just show you guys maybe like 30 seconds or a minute of all the app screenshots, as well as pictures of the iPad device. So, enjoy, and I'll see you in a minute.